My name is Quinn Meekum. I am the Associate Director for Research and Academic Programs here at the Kennedy Center. And I'm really delighted that we can have this conversation. It could not be more timely. If you have been following the news this past week, a series of tragedies are unfolding in Haiti. There's been an attack recently on the airport. There's been a massive prison break. Haiti is increasingly challenged by gang violence, and this particular episode of political instability is quite acute, as our panelists will be discussing. It didn't come out of nowhere. Haiti has some legacies of state failure and challenges with governance that I think have become particularly meaningful today. Just on a personal note, how many of you have had a chance to spend time in Haiti here in the audience? We do have a few of you. I don't know if you're like me, but my experience in Haiti is unforgettable. It's the kind of rich culture and remarkable landscapes and people that are hard to forget. It's an unusual country for the Americas in a number of respects, but it really is a remarkably engaging place. And I hope that if you haven't yet had a chance to go, that you go, because it will be an unforgettable experience for you. And I pray, along with many of you, for Haiti to stabilize and to come to a place where it will be easier for us to support the country. We have some distinguished panelists up front here today with me, and I'm just going to introduce them in the order in which they will speak. Dr. Ricardo Vernet is a visiting assistant professor in BYU's Department of Political Science. He specializes in comparative politics, focusing on social movements, democracy, and authoritarianism in Latin America. Next to him, we have Dr. Carter Charles. Dr. Carter Charles is a social historian of religion and politics. He is a native child of Haiti, French citizen, assistant professor here in the Department of French and Italian at BYU. To his right, we have Dr. Craig Palsson. Dr. Palsson is visiting us today from Logan, from Utah State University, where he is an assistant professor of economics at the Huntsman School of Business at Utah State University. He is a specialist on political economy and a specialist on the Haitian economy in particular, and how economic factors affect modern underdevelopment. And finally, to my far right, we have Dr. Louis Clorméus, who has come to us ultimately all the way from Haiti. He's a specialist in the intellectual history of Haiti, and in particular, the relationship between state and religion. He's a professor at the National University of Haiti and is currently an associate research scholar in the Department of African American Studies at Yale University. I want to thank in particular the program in Africana Studies and the program in Latin American Studies, two of our area studies programs here at the Kennedy Center that have co-sponsored this panel along with the Kennedy Center, and for all of those that have come together to make this a possibility. We will give each of our speakers about 5 minutes to provide some opening remarks. After which we will open it up for discussion with those of you in attendance. We will have a microphone that will travel, and we invite you to ask questions for our panelists. I will moderate that Q&A. We are on a fairly tight time schedule today because there is a class that is going to be in here at noon, so we will end at 11:50. and look forward to the conversation with our panelists. Please join me in welcoming our distinguished scholars.
I'm happy we're having this discussion today. As Quinn mentioned, it's timely. It's a very what's happening in Haiti today is very, very catastrophic. So what I want to say in the 4 minutes that I have left is discussing the consequence of state failure in Haiti. And it's not hard to see the consequence of state failure, as you've seen in the news. But I think, as Quinn also mentioned, state failure is not new. It's not a new problem in Haiti. It has been, for the most part, I might say, a recurring feature of Haitian political life. And most experts, I don't think there's disagreements on this. But what we're seeing in recent years is a situation where the state itself is vanishing. We are in some way, Haiti's operating without a state. Of course, we know state failure doesn't mean that you have no state. But recently, we're seeing the state is gradually disappearing from Haitian life. Now, to set this up for you, for example, currently Haiti has no elected official. The president, as you probably heard, was assassinated back in 2021. The prime minister, the President Jovenel Moïse, as you can see on the slide there, the prime minister he chose before he died technically is a de facto ruler. The Constitution of Haiti says that the president chooses the prime minister, but has to be approved by parliament. The problem is the Haitian parliament is deserted. The last 10 senators that the country had, their mandate expired last January. So we don't technically have an operating parliament. The Provisional Electoral Council, who's responsible for organizing elections, has also been deserted. So Haiti has not been able to organize elections since 2016. The courts have also been emptied out for many reasons. There is a lack of resources and support, and some of the members of the courts, Supreme Court in particular, have also left the country because of threats that have been made against them for investigating the recent assassination of the president. And virtually all the country's mayors have also been appointed or replaced, so we haven't also been able to organize elections for the lower jurisdictions either. And so the consequence of all of this state absenteeism has been catastrophic for the country. And so what we have seen is a situation where gangs have tried to fill the vacuum that the state has left. And so, for example, a recent UN report says that we have between 150 to 200 gangs in the country, and they occupy, or at least controlled, about 80% of the capital. And so this is a very, very, we haven't seen anything like this before. It's a very, very serious situation. And the consequence of this, as I think Gwen mentioned in the introductory remark, is that we've seen a situation where gangs have practically controlled the country, right? They have recently tried to take over the airport. They have they've seized 2 prisons. The president himself was on his way to Kenya to try to negotiate an international intervention, but the gangs have mobilized and refused to let him come back into the country. So the president now is, not the president, the prime minister now is in Puerto Rico, trying to figure out if there is a way he can get back into the country. So that's a very serious, that's also a very serious situation as far as, go back to the, no. So here's a recent report, as you can see here, that comes from the UN, of the outlook in terms of security. As you can see here, if you look at between 2021, that's the year the president was assassinated, to 2022, you can see the situation as far as security is concerned. That's also, the other thing that's also serious is the consequence of this for democratic governance. Because we have a situation of insecurity, we haven't been able to organize elections, right? Now, some people have said that, you know, this has been an excuse used by the prime minister not to organize elections, that he has become the new dictator, the new dictator of Haiti. But the reality is we haven't been able to have a security situation where we can organize elections. And so this means that Haiti is in some ways in a dilemma. We need to organize elections, but the security situation is so bad that it's difficult to actually even imagine creating elections. And some people are saying, why don't we remove the prime minister? The problem is, what do you do? Who replaces the prime minister? And how do we move forward in terms of creating the conditions where we can rescue the country's democratic institutions? So that's also bring into context whether or not even intervening in Haiti, the international community intervening in Haiti, will actually make a difference. And we've seen in the past that they have intervened, and it hasn't really created stability that we need in order to advance, to promote democracy in the country.
Thanks to the Kennedy Center and to you, Quinn, for hosting us at this particular time. This is a subject that a theme, the question of authoritarianism and governance that the Kennedy Center is interested in at this time, and this is unfortunately when Haiti again proves to be an example that we wish we didn't have. I'm going to orient and shorten my remarks in part because we also need to navigate the questions of languages. My colleague here, Professor Clorméus, who is visiting us, will be speaking in French, and we want to give him time for the things that he would like, he's planning to share with us. Before I get into the few things that I would like to highlight from my remarks, I would like to acknowledge the presence. Thank you all for coming, and I would like to acknowledge in particular not my wife's presence. She is always making sure that I'm doing things right, but especially acknowledge the presence of President Kenny Augustin, who is the inaugurating branch president of the Haitian Creole East Bay 3rd branch in the Provo South stake. In that capacity, he is able to see a lot of the things, a lot of the people who are coming to the United States, who have immigrated to the United States in the most recent months. I also would like to acknowledge the presence of Jean-Gardy Lorcy in the audience. Jean-Gardy Lorcy is someone who, in spite of himself, immigrated to the United States. Is it a year ago, Jean-Gardy?
2 years.
2 years ago now.
2 years, 2 days.
2 years and 2 days. Jean-Gardy's children hosted with my family. In fact, they were still trying to figure out ways to remain in Haiti. I should say Mr. Lorcy. Mr. Lorcy is someone who has a company that is still running in Haiti. His wife has 25 years of experience in the banking sector, procedures, and the kind of rigors that we need to make sure that things are done properly. to address the question of immigration in the United States and the crisis that was created at the border because of insecurity in Haiti, the United States announced a program on January. I should fast forward that as well so you guys can see. We're not going to play the video for lack of time. That would admit 30,000 nationals of Cuba, Haiti, Nicaragua, and Venezuela per month legally to the United States. This is a program that has worked in some ways for to reduce exposure to human trafficking, to human violence, and sometimes border protection brutality. It has also helped avoid some living conditions, regardless of what people think actually is happening at the border right now. It would have been worse without that program. That being said, this is also a program that is unfortunately, is one of the invisible aspects of the problems in Haiti once we start stabilizing the country. That is, I'm going to go very quickly over a couple of headlines, articles about what is happening in Haiti because of that, what actually some Haitians are saying. Okay, so right here you're seeing one information saying that, well, I'm going too fast here in my own slides. So over 22% of doctors trained by the state medical school have left the country. And other health professionals immigrated to the United States and Canada. This is a major and important state hospital in the country, one of the hospitals. And this one says less and less specialists in medicine in Haiti. That is, less and less people trained and competent to actually address some of the health issues that the country is facing. This is a survey, again, published from the news. They're saying that the situation is alarming. 7 out of 8 first-year residents in medical school in pediatric have left the country. 9 out of 33 in internal medicine. 1/3, one first-year resident in surgery has left, and so forth. What I want to highlight is that while this program is helping individual Haitians and some families at the micro level, at the macro level, it is unfortunately creating a situation that will make it very, very hard to come back to the level of the kind of health safety, for instance, that you need in the country, let alone right now. So that was longer than I was anticipating, so thank you very much for bearing with me.
Great. Great. It is very exciting to be here. What wasn't mentioned in my little biography is that I was a student at BYU. It's also just fantastic. So I don't often get to give the context behind my involvement in Haiti, but since we're at BYU, why not, right? I served a mission in Orlando, Florida, and I spoke Haitian Creole. That mission ended in May 2009, and in January 2010, so about 6 months later, is when the earthquake hit Haiti. And it was in the Wilk right here at a career fair just days after that I had the impression that maybe I shouldn't be following my plan to be a management consultant, and maybe there was some way that I could combine economics with my interest in Haiti to try and work towards solutions. And it was in the Provo Temple that I received the revelation that I needed to go and do a PhD in economics. So it's just fantastic to be here full circle, just so close to these places, and to see history made as probably the first time there's been a panel at BYU with only one white person on it. So I'm really excited to be in this historic moment.
But we could do it all in Haitian Creole.
We could do it in Haitian Creole. So I will give very quick remarks. Ricardo already gave us some of these statistics, but he was 1 year behind. He stopped at 2022, so I still have something to add on these statistics. I'm an economist, so these things really speak to me, right? These are kidnappings in Haiti from 2019 to 2023, and you can see that they are just accelerating. We're seeing just people's lives being really torn apart as gangs are fighting for resources and ransoms, which I'll go on in just a second, but I want to give you one other more unsettling statistic. This is homicides in Haiti, and the statistics that Ricardo showed us end in 2022, and that was like a good point, right? They've more than doubled in 2023. So last year, it was nearly 5,000 deaths or homicides in Haiti, and those are just reported ones. As was mentioned, Haiti has been overrun by gangs, especially the capital, Port-au-Prince. Just to be clear, some of the times we have unclear perspectives on what's going on in countries. Most of this is happening in the capital and that fighting. There's lots of places out in the countryside and in other cities where you can go and it's safer. You still feel the tension that's there, but this is mostly the problem in the capital. Now, of course, this then spreads out to the other areas, and it's affecting everyone. But these are gangs not like what you might think of like Mexican cartels or down in Colombia, where even though they're involved in illicit activities, they're really just international businesses. They're farming and producing drugs, selling them on an international market, and that's where they get their value, is through producing something where there's demand for that. That is not what's going on in Haiti. They are not involved in some sort of value creation. They are fighting for what economists would call rents. They are fighting over territory, trying to extract value from the area. And because they're trying to extract value, it's a zero-sum game that drives down the value created by everyone. And what you can see in that is data that I have collected on business formation in Haiti. This is really interesting because we can go back to before the earthquake, and you would think this earthquake that killed 200,000 people and destroyed thousands of buildings would lead to just devastation. Of course, it did lead to devastation, but the response by the Haitians was, hey, there's a need here. We need to fix this. And so business creation started going through the roof, and that trend continued all the way up until where these political problems really started back in 2019 with what's called Pays Loc. That's when we started to have all of this political resistance, protests, leads to the assassination, leads to the overcoming of gangs. And you can see in this graph here how that trend has been reversed. Now there's much greater variation in the creation of new businesses. We're seeing sometimes when there's zero and that trend is going down. This is a rate, though. This is telling us how many new businesses are being created. If we look at how many are being created and destroyed over time, it gives us a little bit clearer picture. You see that business creation, the stock of businesses, was increasing all the way up until those protests. There's some uncertainty about how many were being destroyed at this time, so I give it as a little bit of an area. But in the worst case scenario, we're seeing complete stagnation since 2019. Now, economists sometimes get a bad rap for focusing too much on business creation and the economy. And let me just be clear. The economy is how people live their lives. If businesses aren't being created, if businesses aren't being sustained, people aren't creating income, people aren't able to feed their families. That means that lots of other problems are coming along here. Now, we're talking about legacies of political failure, and so I just want to give us a little bit of a callback to the early 1900s, to 1910, specifically to 1915, when the U.S. went in and occupied Haiti up until 1934. We had a similar problem in 1910 to 1915. So from 1911 to 1915, that's 4 years, 7 different presidents, because there was constant turmoil, constant coups, people being killed, drawn out into the streets. And then the U.S. came in and occupied the country. We can look at business creation then, or business, these not creation, this is business licenses held, and we see similar stagnation leading up to that. And when the U.S. came in and occupied, we see increasing businesses. I don't know how much we're going to get into solutions here. The big elephant in the room in this is how much does the foreign international community have to play a role in what's going to happen next in Haiti? What lessons can we learn from the occupation of Haiti from 1915 to 1934, which had a lot of mistakes, but still had some things, and the mistakes that we made we can learn from, and do we need to look at this as a model going forward? Like I said, it's the elephant in the room, and maybe we'll get into that in the Q&A. But that wraps up my comments. I'll give that to Louis.
Merci beaucoup.
Et merci d'abord pour l'invitation que vous m'offrez de partager avec vous mes réflexions sur la situation d'Haïti. Et merci à mon collègue et ami Carter Charles qui va assurer la traduction de mon intervention.
He expressed thanks for the invitation to be a part of this panel, and he mentioned me.
Alors, Haïti est-il un État fragile? Jamais question n'a suscité autant de consensus parmi les chercheurs.
Is Haiti a fragile state? This is a question that has never created more consensus than ever before among scholars.
Tous décrivent une situation de fragilité caractérisée par l'échec de l'État en Haïti à répondre aux attentes légitimes de sa population en matière de sécurité, de services sociaux et économiques de base et de garantie des libertés essentielles.
They all agree on that fragility is characterized by the failure of the state in Haiti to address the needs of its population in the area of safety, social services, the economy, and guarantee basic freedoms.
La plupart des recherches actuelles se focalisent sur la responsabilité des élites haïtiennes et pointent du doigt leur incompétence, leur propension à la corruption et surtout leur mépris des couches défavorisées.
Current research have focused on the incompetencies and the corruption of leaders and issues with people less. They're preoccupied by the economic situation and social tensions.
En effet, la situation économique est préoccupante. À ceci s'ajoute une succession de crises politiques qui accentuent les tensions sociales.
The political crisis. Acute political crisis intensify social tensions, adding to the previous things that he mentioned.
Au cours de ces dernières années, le focus est porté sur les nouveaux visages de l'insécurité.
In the past few years, they have focused on the new face of insecurity.
Il y a une vingtaine d'années, certains endroits aux abords de la capitale étaient désignés dans les débats publics comme des zones de non-droit, c'est-à-dire où la police connaît de sérieux problèmes à protéger la vie et les biens des citoyens.
About 20 years ago, certain areas of the capital were considered as unsafe zones where the law enforcement officers had a hard time to implement the law in those areas.
Aujourd'hui, pour reprendre le mot de la ministre de la Justice et de la Sécurité publique, il existe désormais des territoires perdus, c'est-à-dire où l'autorité de l'État est tout simplement inopérante.
Quoting the Ministry of Justice, he mentions that there are spaces in Haiti that are lost where the state is inoperative.
Un tel aveu sur la puissance des gangs traduit bien le désespoir et surtout l'incapacité d'une équipe gouvernementale en crise de légitimité politique à penser une réponse efficace aux problèmes actuels.
This confession admits the weakness of the governance team to address current needs.
Mais faut-il aussi rappeler que cette fragilité de l'État en Haïti est aussi une fabrication de la communauté internationale?
But need we also remind that this fragility is also a fabrication of the international community?
Il est inutile de vous rappeler que, au cours de ces 30 dernières années, Haïti a bénéficié de différentes opérations onusiennes de maintien de la paix qui n'ont pas fourni à la police nationale un niveau de formation suffisant pour faire face à la terreur des gangs.
Needless to remind that in the past 30 years, Haiti has received support from the United Nations that did not provide enough training and sufficient expertise to ensure continuity after they had left.
C'est une police sous-équipée et sous-entraînée.
It is an under-equipped law enforcement and undertrained.
Depuis 1995, sous la pression des États-Unis d'Amérique, l'armée d'Haïti est démobilisée.
Since 1995, under pressure from the United States, the Haitian army has been demobilized.
En 2017, en dépit de la réticence des ambassades occidentales, le gouvernement a mis en place un embryon d'armée à qui celles-ci, ces ambassades, refusent un armement adéquat.
In 2017, despite some reticence from the international representations in Haiti, the embassies, the government started to put in place the embryo of an army without adequate resources.
En revanche, par des couloirs illicites, les gangs arrivent à obtenir des armes de guerre et des munitions.
Yet, through some illegal means, gangs are able to have weapons of war and ammunitions.
Elles proviennent particulièrement des États-Unis d'Amérique, la République dominicaine et la Jamaïque.
They come in particular from the Dominican Republic, Jamaica, and the United States.
Je rappelle qu'Haïti ne dispose d'aucune industrie d'armes ni de munitions et que la puissance de feu de la police nationale est largement inférieure à celle des gangs.
I would remind that Haiti does not produce weapons and ammunitions, and that the firepower of law enforcement is way inferior compared to the power of the gangs.
Il faut aussi préciser que les institutions financières internationales, en particulier le Fonds monétaire international et la Banque mondiale, n'ont pas su anticiper les effets néfastes des politiques d'ajustement structurel qu'ils ont imposées aux dirigeants haïtiens.
We also need to specify that international institutions like the World Bank, for instance, have not anticipated enough the negative effects of the policies that they have imposed.
Entre 1986 et 1996, en mettant l'accent sur la libéralisation commerciale, elles ont contribué à fragiliser l'économie nationale.
Between 1986 and 1996, insisting on the liberalization of the market, they contributed to further fragilize the national economy.
Un coup fatal est porté contre la souveraineté alimentaire et la production agricole.
A fatal blow was also dealt to food sovereignty and general farm production.
Je m'arrête ici pour préciser que la fragilisation de l'État haïtien est aussi le fait d'acteurs internationaux qui empêchent les élites haïtiennes d'aller vers la bonne direction en matière de gouvernance économique et politique.
I will stop here, insisting on the fact that the problems of Haiti are also the fact of international actors which prevent the Haitian elite from moving forward in the right direction of governance and economic and political policies.
En août 2022, l'Organisation des États américains a admis que la crise que vit Haïti est le résultat des actions des forces endogènes du pays et de la communauté internationale.
In 2022, the Organization of American States admitted that the crisis that Haiti is undergoing has to do with indigenous forces and also of the international community. Endogenous forces.
À mon sens,
That is internal forces.
À mon sens, la crise haïtienne est aussi et surtout l'échec d'un ordre international qui génère des crises nationales et régionales.
In my view, the Haitian crisis is the failure of the international community that generates national and regional crises.
Merci beaucoup.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. We've heard a range of very difficult challenges that Haiti is facing right now, and I hope that in our conversation we'll have a chance to think a little bit more about how we got here and where we go from here. We will be open to your questions and invite you to raise your hand if you have a question. We'll bring you a microphone. We invite you to just stand and tell us who you are. And we're going to borrow one of the microphones from the table, if it's okay. Maybe Carter, yours.
Darren Ray, history professor of African history here at BYU. My question is, I was surprised this week to hear that the gangs are calling for elections instead of just continuing internal squabbling and rent-seeking behavior amongst themselves. So I'm wondering, at what point might they be involved in political conversations rather than just been treating as a security threat? Most of what I'm hearing is simply the way to fix this is to send some troops from Kenya and put down the gangs. And there doesn't seem to be any sort of peacekeeping or any efforts to bring the gangs into a political conversation and a peace operation instead of just treating them as a security threat. So I'm wondering, is there a call for elections and seeming unification to be able do something like take the airport and other things a turn in them seeking a new kind of dispensation in the country?
Thank you. And before you respond, I think let's take several questions. And feel free to speak briefly to the questions that you feel like you have some insight into. Are there other questions we can put on the table as well?
I'm Leslie Hadfield, also here at BYU in the History Department in African History, and I am interested also in the Kenya-Haiti relationship, considering the United States occupation and the mistakes that were made then, and Haiti's position in the world as being the first, one of the first Black republics in the Americas. And so I'm wondering about that connection and the hope that maybe seeking out an African nation to come in and help might make things better than other international interventions.
One more question there.
Hi, I'm Luz del Alba Rodriguez. I am actually from the Dominican Republic, and I'm studying psychology here at BYU. I wonder in what ways the DR has contributed to these to the failure that Haiti has experienced, and what would be your call to action from the Dominican Republic to contribute to the bettering of the situation? Thank you.
Thank you for those questions. Let's give our panelists a couple of moments to respond. We invite you to respond concisely so that we can take more questions as well. Ricardo, if you have.
Okay, with respect to the questions about the gangs calling for elections, I think that was your question. I think from what we're seeing it's a preemptive effort. The Prime Minister has gone to Kenya trying to seek support for an international force to come to try to quash the gang issue. And I think that this had led to this has simulated in some way unification of various gangs in the capital, trying to prevent that from happening. In fact, as I mentioned in my remarks, the Prime Minister currently is in Puerto Rico. It cannot really come in. I think what they're trying to, the gang leader who's trying to call for elections, try to portray himself as kind of like aligning with the people, that he's not really, he's more like presenting himself as a revolutionary, trying to, shore up support among the population. But there are accusations against him that he has committed serious human rights and has killed several people. I suspect, from what I'm seeing anyways, I don't really see a path in terms of integrating the gangs in a solution to this because of the atrocities that they've committed. But I do think we ought to have some discussions on this. Whether what is this going to look like, a path after the security issue is solved. Are we, there's probably going to be questions about disarmament, maybe some kind of, truth reconciliation. I don't really know. But I think it's still too early to say what that's going to be, what that's going to look like. But I will say, though, that that the way they are discussing the international intervention, it is unlikely to make any kind of a difference in Haiti. It seems to be like it's a Band-Aid solution. Like Kenya is coming in, put the gangs down and leave. It's not going to change anything if we don't have a multifaceted approach to this. We need to try to figure out if we can figure out a way to strengthen Haiti's institutions. And unfortunately, the United States, Canada, and France have not necessarily do not have an appetite to intervene in Haiti. I don't really see the Kenyan solution solving any of this problem. Yeah.
So on the gang issue, I'll say that, I mean, as I showed in my graphs, gang fighting reduces, again, what the economists would call the surplus, right? The value being created in the economy, right? They're fighting over this, and as they keep fighting, it makes the pie smaller and smaller. So gang leaders are in a bargaining position, where they can come up and say, well, like, what if we have elections? We can remove our fighting, but we have to get something out of this, right? And so peace is going to create a greater surplus. But their big question is, how much of that surplus are we going to get? And so I think that's why they want elections, is they realize that you cannot keep this up in the long run. And they're seeking right now where they have really high bargaining power for them to say, we come in, we can get a good deal out of this. We wait long enough that something happens, the U.S. finally decides to come in, that's going to cause us to lose a lot of value. So let's try to at least appear as good actors right here. On Kenya and the occupation, so right now, like, one of the biggest differences between today Haiti and Haiti in 1915 is that Haiti in 1915 had a large German presence in the economy. And a large German presence in 1915 was a very big threat when a global war is going on with Germany, right? And so the U.S. was afraid that Germany is getting a foothold and is going to come in and cause problems in the U.S. Today, the U.S. has no economic interest in Haiti, no political interest in Haiti. They're just a small country nearby. And really the interest in Haiti is hopefully humanitarian, but really is migrants coming in. Boats leaving Haiti, coming across and coming into the United States, and that's going to create a political crisis, especially for Biden when his key opponent, Trump, is running on a largely anti-immigration platform. That's the biggest threat. So Biden has zero political or economic interest in doing anything in Haiti unless there's that threat that migrants are going to come in, and Trump can use that as, you see what happens under a Biden presidency? That's not going to happen under mine. But then so that's the lose side if he doesn't do anything, is that it's going to be a pretty powerful political weapon. The other side is an American occupation goes in, the only way that things are going to happen are going to be violent conflict, right? And now you have dead Haitians on the American news saying, look what the Biden administration is doing in Haiti. It's a lose-lose situation for Biden right now. And so what they're trying to do is do an end around and say, well, if there's dead Haitians on the news, at least it's Africans who are doing it, not Americans doing it. And so that's where there's a lot of pressure to try and bring Kenyans in. And I just don't know how successful that's going to be. On the Dominican side, I don't have much insight on that other than, I mean, I wish relations were better between them. There's some theories that the agricultural labor that a lot of Haitians community in the Dominican Republic were similar to the humanitarian visas that we're seeing today, where it drew away some of the strongest and most capable Haitians who said, why would I stay here when there are really good jobs available in the Dominican Republic? And that left kind of the people who would have opposed dictatorships like the Duvaliers and other political problems along the way. But as Carter was saying, on the micro level, you can't blame these people. Right? They want to improve their own lives as best they can. We shouldn't force people to stay in situations that are terrible for them. But all those micro decisions might come up to a macro decision that makes it harder for a long-run solution.
Thanks. Louis or Carter, any short comment you might have?
Alors, la grande question, c'est est-ce que nous recherchons une paix durable?
So the question is, are we seeking durable, lasting peace?
Moi, je pense qu'il faut privilégier un retour à l'ordre constitutionnel pour donner légitimité aux actions de l'État.
I think we need to prioritize a return to constitutional order to legitimize the state.
Tout en sachant que les élections ne fournissent pas toujours la légitimité aux dirigeants.
Knowing that elections do not necessarily give legitimacy to the leaders.
Il faut que la machine électorale soit crédible.
The electoral system needs to be credible.
On sait aujourd'hui que ce sont les acteurs internationaux qui ont décidé de qui devrait être président en Haïti en 2011.
We also know that it was international community that decided who could be the president of Haiti in 2011.
Alors, il faut se battre pour
And so
restaurer
We
l'autorité
need
de
to
l'État
fight
et
to
de ses
restore the
institutions.
authority of the state and of the institutions.
Mais posons-nous cette question.
But let's also
Il
ask this
existe une armée
question.
en Haïti.
There is an army in Haiti.
Pourquoi ne pas faire appel à
Why
cette
don't
armée,
we call in this
l'entraîner,
army, train
l'équiper
it,
pour
equip it
la nouvelle
to-
conjoncture
for the
sécuritaire,
new, security,
plutôt que d'appeler le Kenya ou
situation
quelques
instead of
autres
calling
puissances internationales à
Kenya or
intervenir.
international institutions to intervene.
Et le problème de la circulation des armes,
And
est-ce
the
que le
problem
Kenya
of the
et
circulation
les
of
autres pays
weapons
qui vont
is
intervenir
Kenya and
pourront
other
résoudre ce
countries that
problème?
will come, will they solve it?
Je n'en suis pas sûr.
I'm not sure.
Et je rappelle encore une
And I
fois,
would
Haïti
remind
ne
once again
produit
that
pas
Haiti
des
does
armes,
not
ne
produce
produit pas de
weapons, they do
munitions.
not produce ammunitions.
Alors, en ce qui concerne
So when it comes
les
to
rapports avec la République
the
dominicaine,
relations with the Dominican Republic,
je crois qu'il y a un
I
dialogue
think there is
extrêmement difficile à
a
faire.
very difficult dialogue to have,
Parce
conversations
que
to
nous
have.
vivons
We are
sur une île
on
partagée
an
par
island
deux
that is
pays.
shared by two
Et
countries,
nous avons affaire à une double
and we
insularité.
have a double insularity.
Insularité parce que nous vivons sur une
Insularity
île,
because we are on an island,
mais aussi
and
insularité
also
parce que les
insularity
deux
because
républiques
the two
s'ignorent
republics
mutuellement.
ignore each other mutually ignore
Il
each
faudrait
other.
peut-être commencer dans la
We
conjoncture
might
actuelle
need, in this current situation,
à
to begin
discuter autour de la
a
gestion des
conversation
frontières.
around the management of the
Il y
borders
aurait en Haïti, il y
There
aurait
would be
sur la frontière
on
haïtiano-dominicaine
the Haitian-Dominican
plus d'une
border,
centaine de points
over
incontrôlés
100
qui servent
points that are not
à la
controlled that
contrebande
serve
et à la
for
circulation illicite des
smuggling
armes et des
and
munitions.
illegal circulation of weapons and
Il faudrait
ammunition.
aussi avoir le
We
courage, et
would
je
also
termine,
need to have the courage
de discuter autour de la question de la
to have a
migration
conversations around
et du
migration
traitement des migrants
and the treatment of the migrants
République dominicaine.
in Dominican Republic.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for your comments. We're about out of time. The last thing I'll just say as we conclude is that as a scholar of institution building, institutions take time to create. They take time to establish cultures and norms and rules and rituals that allow people to coordinate and to solve their problems. Unfortunately, they can be destroyed quite easily if there are elites that are trying to destroy them. And so I think that the road ahead in Haiti is a road of institution building, building on the institutions that do exist and a very strong national culture. But it will take time, and it's worth pursuing. I invite you, if you have additional questions, to meet our panelists out in the lobby so that we can allow the 12 o'clock class to come in. Please join me in thanking our distinguished panelists.